Zero the day her ship entered Earth's orbit. Every satellite we had pretended was for weather research suddenly became very interested in diplomacy. "They're holding position above the Pacific," my supervisor said, adjusting his tie as if extraterrestrial contact required better fabric alignment. "You'll meet her in 40 minutes. 40? I asked. That's barely enough time to Google her species. You already read the brief. I skimmed. There were a lot of appendices. He stared at me. She is not here for jokes. That's unfortunate, I said. They're my only marketable skill. The landing platform shimmered beneath a containment field as her vessel descended. It did not roar or blaze. It folded into visibility like a thought deciding to become solid. Panels shifted, light bent, and then the hatch opened. She stepped forward without hesitation. She looked human at first glance. Same posture, same measured stride. But her ears, long, elegant, rising slightly upward, moved with subtle precision, angling toward sounds before they were made as if anticipating speech. I reminded myself not to stare. Her eyes met mine. "You are the assigned liaison," she said. Her voice carried perfect clarity, assisted by a hovering translation drone the size of a coin orbiting her shoulder. "Yes," I replied. "I'm here to prevent interplanetary misunderstandings and explain sarcasm when necessary." The drone pulsed faintly. She regarded me for a moment. One ear tilted, not quite forward, not quite back. "Your file indicates you specialize in conflict de-escalation," she said. "That's a generous way to describe surviving committee meetings." A pause. "Committees are a form of ritual combat," she asked. "Only spiritually." Her gaze did not change, but her ear shifted again, processing. "I am Envoy Celari of the Lithari Accord," she said. "My objective is singular: secure stable peace between our civilizations." "Ambitious," I said. I was hoping for a smaller starter quest. Her ship sealed behind her, and Earth's defense grid quietly powered down one precautionary level. Above us, orbiting vessels from her world adjusted position, sleek and silent, refracting sunlight like deliberate reminders. We walked toward the diplomatic transport. Security agents pretended not to be terrified. "You are amused," she observed. "I'm coping," I said. "If I start panicking, someone might press the wrong planetary defense button. That would complicate negotiations." Understatement of the century. Inside the transport, holographic projections activated automatically. Trade corridors, resource maps, demographic overlays of both worlds. The scale of it pressed in on me, but she studied the data with clinical focus. "You have divided your planet into competing governance structures," she said. "I count over 100 primary authorities." "We enjoy variety," I said. "It keeps things interesting. It appears inefficient." "It is," I agreed, "but we're very attached to it." One ear angled slightly toward me. "Attachment is a recurring theme in human psychology," she said. "Give us a week," I replied. "We'll attach to you too." Her eyes flickered, perhaps recalibrating whether that was a threat. The first negotiation session began within an hour. Representatives from multiple nations filled the circular chamber. Translation fields shimmered overhead. Her presence shifted the air without her needing to raise her voice. She spoke first. "Peace is not sentiment," she said. "It is structure. It is maintained through clarity of expectation and mutual cost assessment." I watched the room lean toward her words. She projected terms with precision: shared research initiatives, regulated technology exchange, orbital traffic agreements. No flourish, no wasted motion. A minister attempted a challenge. "And what assurance do we have that your fleets will not assert dominance once integrated?" Her ear moved slightly toward him. "You have no assurance," she said calmly. "You have leverage." The room stilled. She continued. "Peace sustained by trust alone is fragile. Peace sustained by interdependence is resilient." I leaned toward my microphone. "She's suggesting we become too economically entangled to destroy each other without inconvenience." Several delegates coughed to hide smiles. She glanced at me briefly. His simplification is acceptable, she said. I bowed slightly in my chair. As hours passed, tension rose and fell like tidal gravity. Questions sharpened. Doubts surfaced. Through it all, she remained composed, her long ears subtly shifting at tonal shifts others could not hear. During a recess, we stood apart from the crowd. You translate not only language, she said quietly, you translate atmosphere. I charge extra for that, I replied. Your humor disrupts escalation patterns, she observed. That's the goal. Why? Because if everyone feels slightly foolish, no one feels fully righteous. Her gaze held mine longer this time. Righteousness precedes war, she said. Exactly. A notification blinked across her wrist interface, a coded transmission from her orbiting fleet. I saw the shift in her posture, barely perceptible. Problem? I asked. Routine recalibration, she said. Your defense satellites interpreted it as a targeting sequence. I closed my eyes briefly. Of course they did. She turned to me. You anticipated this. I anticipated we'd all be paranoid. Within minutes, I was coordinating with Earth Command, clarifying data streams, injecting a little dry reassurance into channels that sounded one heartbeat away from panic. No, they're not aiming at us, I told a general. They're adjusting power output. Yes, I'm sure. No, please don't press anything dramatic. The alert de-escalated. Back in the chamber, negotiations resumed. She leaned slightly toward me. You function effectively under tension. I practice daily, I said. Traffic. A faint pause. Then unexpectedly, she said, your species endures inefficiency, fragmentation, and emotional volatility. Yet you persist. We're stubborn, I said. It's our defining trait. One ear angled forward subtly. Stubbornness can be strategically useful, she said. Careful, I replied. You'll start sounding human. Her eyes met mine again. For the duration of this mission, she said, I must remain disciplined. Of course, I said lightly, I'll remain charming but harmless. She studied me, perhaps assessing the accuracy of that claim. The session concluded without catastrophe. No fleets fired. No treaties collapsed. Just incremental progress carved from suspicion. As we exited the chamber, cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions about alien alliances and technological miracles, she walked beside me with the same measured composure she had maintained all day. You do not fear me, she said quietly. I did, I admitted. Then you started talking about spreadsheets. A brief silence. Then, almost imperceptibly, one of her long ears shifted forward. I do not understand why that reduces fear, she said. It humanizes you, I replied. No conqueror opens with trade compliance charts. She considered that. Then perhaps, she said softly, this mission will require more charts. I smiled. Careful, envoy, I said. You're declaring war on our boredom. And for the first time since her arrival, I thought I saw something close to amusement touch her otherwise unbreakable composure. By the third day, the media had stopped calling her the alien. They had upgraded to Her Excellency, which was progress, though I suspected she would have preferred a simpler title like Person Attempting to Prevent Interstellar Disaster. We sat across from each other in the secured strategy room, while a cluster of translation drones hovered between us like polite mechanical fireflies. You have categorized 12 major human negotiation patterns, she said, scrolling through a holographic interface only she could see. 4 involve indirect refusal, 3 rely on emotional appeal, 2 appear to be deliberate confusion. We're very proud of those, I said. Confusion is a cultural art form. Her long ears angled slightly outward. Why would a species intentionally obscure intention during peace talks? Because we're afraid to say no directly, I replied. It might hurt someone's feelings. That seems inefficient. It is, I agreed. But it keeps dinner invitations intact. She paused, processing that. A notification pulsed across the room's central display. Orbital monitors detected a shift in her fleet's formation. Earth defense systems responded instantly, projecting threat probabilities in large red numerals. She didn't look at the display. "They are rotating shield harmonics," she said calmly. "Your satellites misinterpret the energy signature." "They're sensitive," I said. "We trained them on worst-case scenarios. Your species expects catastrophe. We've had practice." I tapped into the defense network, relaying her explanation. The red numerals softened to amber, then faded. She watched me. "You assume good intent from us," she said. "I assume you don't want your first diplomatic visit remembered as that time we accidentally vaporized the Pacific. That would complicate future relations." "Exactly." The week progressed with layered negotiations, resource exchanges, scientific cooperation, controlled technology sharing. Every clause felt like a bridge suspended over invisible depth. In private sessions, however, the conversation drifted. "You divide time into work and leisure," she said one evening while reviewing cultural archives. "On my world, leadership permits neither." "That explains your posture," I said. She looked up. "Rigid, efficient," I corrected, "but exhausting." Her ear flicked once. "Exhaustion is irrelevant to duty." That sounds suspiciously like something a very tired person would say. A brief silence followed. She changed the subject. "Your music lacks structural symmetry. We call that creativity. It appears mathematically reckless. That's why we like it." She accessed an audio file I had recommended and listened again. Her ears tilted forward this time, reacting to tonal shifts. "It generates unpredictable emotional response," she admitted. "Welcome to humanity," I said. "We're basically that song." Later that night, we reviewed the proposed Joint Research Station blueprint, a structure positioned between Earth and her planet's nearest trade corridor, staffed by scientists from both species. "Interdependence reduces probability of war by 37%, she said. 37, I asked, not 36, precision matters. "Romantic," I muttered. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Romantic, never mind." The following morning, a delegation from a major Earth power arrived with revised demands. Increased access to her propulsion technology in exchange for expanded mineral rights. Her expression did not shift as she listened. "That request alters equilibrium," she said, the delegate pressed. "Without deeper exchange, public trust will erode." She folded her hands. "Trust is not generated through unilateral advantage," she replied. "It is constructed through shared vulnerability." The room stilled. I leaned toward my microphone. "She's saying if we both risk something, neither of us feels cornered." The delegate hesitated, her long ears angled subtly toward me. "You condense effectively," she said quietly. "I do birthday speeches too." The negotiation stretched for hours. Numbers adjusted, access tiers rebalanced. At one point, tension spiked so sharply that even the translation drones vibrated. She leaned toward me during a pause. "Your species escalates quickly. We're enthusiastic." That is not the term I would select. Eventually, compromise emerged, not perfect, not painless, but viable. After the session, we stood alone in the corridor overlooking the containment field where her shuttle waited. "You adapt rapidly," she said. "So do you," I replied. "You almost smiled in there." "I did not." "Your ear did." She froze for half a second. "That movement was involuntary." "Sure it was." Her gaze held mine longer than necessary. "You attempt to destabilize me with humor," she said. "No," I answered. "I'm trying to remind you this doesn't have to feel like combat." She considered that. "Negotiation is a form of combat. Only if someone has to lose." A secure transmission interrupted us. This one carried a different tone. Internal political pressure from her world. Factions questioning her concessions, demanding stronger posturing. Her jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "They believe I am yielding too much," she said. "Are you?" "No." "Then you're negotiating." She studied the message again. "On my world," she said slowly, "leaders who appear flexible are perceived as weak." "On ours," I replied, "leaders who never bend eventually snap." She absorbed that in silence. "You speak as if from experience," she said. I've watched enough elections. A faint sound escaped her, not quite a laugh, but close. You are aware, she said, that attachment to this process may compromise your objectivity. I'm aware, I said. Are you? Her ears shifted forward before she could stop them. I am disciplined, she replied. Of course. The next joint session involved public broadcast to both worlds, billions watching, every word amplified. She stepped forward to address them. Peace between our worlds is not charity, she said. It is strategy. Conflict would deplete resources and extinguish potential. Cooperation expands both. Her voice carried without strain. I watched global reaction feeds. Skepticism, hope, fear, curiosity. Then she did something unexpected. She paused, longer than scripted, and added, I have studied your species closely. You are inefficient, fragmented, emotionally volatile. I winced. She continued. You are also resilient, innovative, capable of growth. The feeds shifted. She inclined her head slightly. We recognize value in alliance. Applause erupted across multiple continents. When the broadcast ended, she turned to me. You appear surprised. You complimented us. It was strategically accurate. Still counts. She looked toward the observation window where Earth rotated slowly beneath orbiting vessels from her world. Your people fear invasion, she said. Some of us fear public speaking, I replied. Priorities vary. And you? She asked. I hesitated. I was afraid you'd see us as beneath you. Her gaze sharpened. I do not measure worth through hierarchy, she said. Good, I answered softly, because we're terrible at being beneath anyone. Another pause, this one not tactical. Something unspoken hovered between us, more complicated than treaties. You are becoming less cautious around me, she observed. You're becoming less distant. That was not my intention. Most interesting things are. Her long ears shifted forward again, fully this time. She didn't correct them. Outside, fleets maintained distance. Governments recalculated. Trade projections adjusted. Inside the quiet corridor, the war between worlds felt smaller than the space narrowing between us. And for the first time since her arrival, I suspected the most delicate negotiation ahead would not involve planets. It would involve us. The crisis began with a message that wasn't meant for us. It arrived through a secure quantum relay at 3 in the morning, flagged by every alarm system we had. I was half awake when my console lit up with red priority markers, and a translation drone began hovering insistently over my bed like an anxious metallic mosquito. I answered the call. She appeared on the screen immediately, fully composed despite the hour. Her long ears were angled sharply backward, which I had learned meant focus bordering on alarm. You are awake, she said. I am now, I replied. Please tell me this is about coffee tariffs. It is not. Of course it was. She transmitted the intercepted data stream. It contained encrypted fleet directives from her world. The language was not diplomatic. It referenced contingency positioning, energy alignment, strategic readiness. In short, it sounded very much like preparation for war. That's not routine, I said quietly. No, she agreed. It is not. Earth Command was already reacting. Orbital defense satellites were adjusting trajectories. News outlets were speculating wildly. Social feeds were collapsing into hysteria with impressive efficiency. My government believes you are staging leverage, I said. My government believes I am conceding too much, she replied. So everyone thinks everyone else is bluffing. Yes, I rubbed my face. Classic Tuesday. Her gaze held steady. I did not authorize this shift, she said. Certain factions on my world fear the loss of strategic dominance. Do they outrank you? In some contexts. That's not reassuring. She did not flinch. We must respond carefully, she said. If I publicly oppose them, I weaken my authority. If I appear complicit, I jeopardize peace. And if we panic, I added, we do exactly what they're hoping for. Her ears tilted slightly forward at that. You believe this is internal political maneuvering. Feels like it, I said. Someone wants to prove peace is naive. Silence stretched between us, heavy but not hostile. What would a human leader do? She asked. I blinked. That depends on the leader. What would you advise? I considered the chaos already spreading across networks. Transparency, I said slowly. Controlled but honest. If you pretend nothing's happening, fear fills the gap. Fear is efficient. So is gravity. Doesn't mean we jump off cliffs. A faint pause. Your analogies are unusual. They work. Within hours, we stood before a joint emergency council. Earth generals projected worst-case scenarios. Her holographic representation of fleet formations hovered above the table. You are mobilizing, a general accused. I am stabilizing, she replied evenly. The movement is defensive. From what? Another demanded. She did not answer immediately. I stepped in. From their own politics, I said, just like us. Several heads turned toward me. She continued, elements within my governance structure question the viability of this alliance. They seek evidence that cooperation weakens us. And does it? The general pressed. Her eyes did not waver. No, she said, a beat. Then she added, but it requires risk. The room shifted. I leaned forward. If they're testing you, escalating on our side confirms their narrative. If we hold steady, you demonstrate control. And if their fleets continue repositioning. The general asked. I looked at her. She answered. Then I will countermand them. That was not a small statement. After the council adjourned, we stood alone in the secure chamber. You would defy your own command structure? I asked quietly. If necessary, that's bold. It is required. Or reckless. Her ears twitched. Are you questioning my judgment? Constantly, I said. It's part of the job. She almost smiled. This is not humorous. No, I agreed. But if I stop joking, I'll start worrying. You already worry. Professionally. She walked toward the observation window where her fleet glowed faintly beyond Earth's orbit. I was trained to calculate probabilities, she said. This variable was not included. Me, I asked. Human unpredictability, she corrected. Close enough. She turned back to me. If I issue a direct override, I solidify internal opposition. If you don't, I said, you lose credibility here. She studied me in silence. You are not afraid, she asked. I am, I admitted, but I trust you. The words hung between us longer than expected. Her ears shifted forward fully. Why? She asked softly. Because you could have pushed harder in every negotiation, I said. You didn't. She held my gaze. That was strategy. Maybe, I said, but it felt like restraint. For a moment, something in her composure faltered, not weakness, but conflict. A transmission interrupted us. Fleet leaders from her world requesting confirmation of engagement parameters. Decision time. She opened the channel. Her voice was steady. Stand down from offensive alignment, she ordered. Maintain defensive orbit only. There was resistance, questions, formal objections. She did not raise her voice. I am authorized to negotiate peace, she said. That includes preventing unnecessary escalation. Compliance is mandatory. Silence. Then, slowly, fleet signatures shifted. Energy outputs decreased. Formations widened into non-threatening patterns. Earth's defense grid recalibrated in response. The crisis did not vanish, but it softened. She closed the channel. "You have now created enemies," I said gently. "I already had them." "And friends?" She looked at me. "That remains to be determined." I exhaled. "Well," I said, "for what it's worth, humanity appreciates not being vaporized. That was never my intention." "Still, nice gesture." A faint sound escaped her, closer to a laugh than anything before. "You reduce existential tension to politeness. It's a gift." The following hours were filled with damage control, joint statements, clarifications, assurances that orbital adjustments were procedural, not hostile. By evening, the news cycle had downgraded from impending interstellar war to complex diplomatic developments. Progress. We finally found ourselves alone again. "You risked your authority," I said. "Yes, for us." "For the mission," she corrected. "Right, the mission." She studied me carefully. "You are disappointed." "I'm realistic," I replied. "Diplomats don't get poetic." She stepped closer. "On my world," she said quietly, "loyalty to duty defines honor. And here, I am still learning." I swallowed. "Well," I said lightly, "if you're going to start a political revolution, at least warn me so I can draft the press release." Her ears angled forward again. "You assume you will remain involved." "I assume nothing," I said. "I just dislike unfinished negotiations." "And what are we negotiating now?" The question was softer than any before it. I met her gaze. "I'm not sure," I admitted, "but it feels less like politics." Silence settled around us, no alarms this time, no red alerts, just the quiet hum of systems maintaining fragile peace. Outside, fleets held position without aggression. Inside, something shifted that no protocol had anticipated. And for the first time, I understood that preventing war between our worlds might be easier than navigating what was beginning between us. The day after she overrode her fleet, Earth's markets surged, crashed, then surged again, which economists insisted was a healthy sign of confidence. I personally suspected it was just humanity's preferred cardio routine. She was summoned to address both worlds simultaneously. "That sounds stressful," I told her. "It is optimal," she replied. That wasn't the question. Her long ears angled slightly outward. "Stress is irrelevant." "You keep saying that," I muttered. The joint transmission chamber was secured at a level usually reserved for asteroid impacts and celebrity weddings. Quantum relays synchronized with her homeworld's core council. Earth's leaders lined the opposite platform. She stood centered between two civilizations, posture flawless. I stood 3 steps behind her, professionally invisible. The first challenge came from her world. "You exceeded your mandate," a counselor's projection stated. "Fleet alignment was precautionary. Your countermand suggests distrust of your own command." She did not hesitate. "I trust strength," she said. "But strength misapplied becomes liability, and yielding does not." "I did not yield," she replied calmly. "I prevented miscalculation." The chamber held its breath. Then Earth's representative spoke. "Can we rely on your authority to restrain future escalations?" Her ear twitched at the phrasing. "You may rely on my judgment," she answered. "Authority fluctuates. Judgment endures." I resisted the urge to applaud. The questioning intensified. Political factions from both sides pressed for guarantees no one could honestly provide. I leaned toward my private channel. "May I suggest something mildly theatrical?" I whispered. She did not look at me. "Proceed," she said softly. I stepped forward. "Both sides are demanding assurance," I began. "You won't get certainty. You will get investment. If we expand joint infrastructure now, shared research hubs, co-piloted patrol routes, mixed command simulations, any unilateral aggression becomes self-sabotage." A general frowned. "Intertwining security forces increases vulnerability." "Yes," I agreed. Mutually. Murmurs rippled. She took over seamlessly. "Shared vulnerability is stronger deterrence than isolated superiority," she said. Her counsel reacted sharply. "You would integrate fleets." One demanded. "Limited cooperative exercises," she clarified. "Transparency reduces suspicion." Earth's leaders exchanged glances. "This is unprecedented," one of them said. "So is first contact," I replied. A long pause followed. Then unexpectedly one of her counselors laughed, a short, disbelieving sound. "You align with humans quickly, envoy," he said, her ears angled forward. "I align with outcomes," she answered. The transmission ended without resolution but without collapse. That alone felt like victory. Afterward, she stood in silence while data scrolled across her interface. "You have destabilized traditional power structures," I said carefully. "Yes, you seem remarkably calm about that. I am calculating consequences." "Good. I left my calculator at home." She turned toward me. "You appear less afraid of me. That's because now everyone else is equally afraid of you. That was not my objective. Congratulations anyway." A small exhale escaped her, dangerously close to laughter. Later that evening, we reviewed proposals for the first joint orbital station. Engineers from both worlds argued passionately over propulsion safety standards. "They are debating over decimal precision," she said. "That's romance in my field," I replied. "You are strange, I've been told." She studied a simulation of shared patrol routes. "Integration requires trust," she said quietly, "and time. We do not have unlimited time." "Neither do we," I said, "but rushing trust usually ends badly." She was silent for several seconds. "My world interprets hesitation as weakness. Ours interprets aggression as threat. Then we are trapped between instincts. Or, I suggested, we evolve." Her ears tilted forward again. "Evolution is slow, not when survival's involved." A new alert pulsed across her wrist interface. Internal vote scheduled within her council to review her authority. "That's fast," I said. "Yes, if they remove you from the mission." "They will not," she said. "You sound confident." "I am. Because—" She met my gaze. "Because removing me now signals instability to your world. They cannot afford that." "Ah," I said. "Mutual leverage." "Exactly." I smiled. "You're becoming very human. That is not entirely reassuring." The next day, during a public address about the proposed joint station, a journalist asked her directly, "Do you trust humanity?" The room froze. She answered without consulting me. "I trust individuals," she said. "Civilizations require structure. Do you trust your liaison?" The journalist pressed. I nearly choked. She did not hesitate. "Yes." The simplicity of it landed harder than any diplomatic clause. After the session, I found her alone. "You didn't have to say that," I said. "It was accurate. Still, you question my motives." "No," I admitted. "I'm just not used to being trusted by someone who commands starships." She tilted her head slightly. "You underestimate your influence." "I prefer to," I said. "Safer." Silence settled between us. "You are aware," she said carefully, "that emotional attachment complicates strategic clarity." "I've heard rumors." "And yet you continue. So do you." Her ears shifted forward, then back, then forward again. "My discipline is intact," she insisted. "Of course. Your tone suggests doubt." "My tone suggests hope." She regarded me steadily. "Hope is inefficient." "Sometimes," I agreed, "but it's surprisingly durable." Days later, the council vote concluded. She retained authority. Barely. Opposition factions intensified rhetoric but could not justify removing her while negotiations progressed successfully. When the result came through, she did not celebrate. "You survived," I said. "I remain," she corrected. "Same difference." "It is not." She looked toward the projection of Earth rotating below. "If this fails," she said quietly, "history will mark me as naive." "If it succeeds," I replied, "history will call you visionary." "History is inconsistent. So are we." She turned back to me. "You remain steady," she observed. "I panic internally," I admitted. "I just package it well." Another near laugh escaped her. The Joint Orbital Station project was formally approved that evening. A structure suspended between worlds, crewed by both species, reliant on shared systems. A physical symbol of interdependence. As the announcement went public, I realized something had shifted again. Not in fleets, not in politics, in us. She had chosen risk over dominance. I had chosen trust over caution. Neither of those decisions had been in the original mission parameters. You realize, I said softly, we're no longer just preventing war. She met my gaze. No, she agreed. We are redefining strength. And that terrifies both our worlds. Yes, a pause, and you? I asked. Her ears moved forward fully unguarded. It challenges me, she said. I nodded. Good, I replied. Me too. Outside, construction drones began assembling the first modules of the shared station. Inside, the distance between us felt smaller than ever. And for the first time since she arrived, I understood that peace was no longer just an agreement. It was a choice we were both making, again and again. The day the treaty was finalized, neither of us slept. The joint orbital station rotated steadily between our worlds, its outer rings glowing with synchronized energy signatures, human engineering woven seamlessly with Lithari design. It was no longer theoretical. It existed, which meant failure would now require actual effort. You understand, she said, reviewing the final treaty draft for the 15th time, that this document will bind our civilizations for generations. I can barely commit to a phone contract, I replied. But yes, I understand. Her long ears angled slightly outward, processing my attempt at levity. You cope through humor even now, she observed. I cope because it's now, I corrected. A secure transmission chimed. Earth's coalition leaders confirmed unanimous approval. Moments later, her council's final authorization arrived. She read the confirmation silently. It is done, she said. That's it, I asked. No dramatic music. Your species adds unnecessary soundtrack to historical events. It helps with emotional processing. She considered that. The signing ceremony took place aboard the orbital station. Representatives from both worlds floated briefly in low gravity before stabilizers engaged. Cameras from 2 planets transmitted every gesture. She stood opposite Earth's senior delegate. I stood slightly behind her as always. Peace between our worlds, the delegate said, is no longer aspiration, it is commitment. She inclined her head. Commitment requires maintenance, she replied. We will not assume permanence. The documents were authenticated through biometric and quantum seals. Shared command protocols were activated. Fleet integration exercises were scheduled. Applause echoed through the chamber. War had been avoided, not dramatically, not through a final battle, but through 1,000 careful decisions. When the ceremony ended, she requested a private moment in the observation corridor overlooking both Earth and the distant glow of her home system. You are unusually quiet, she said. I was expecting fireworks, I admitted. We do not detonate explosives to celebrate restraint. Missed opportunity. She looked out at the station's rotating habitat modules. The opposition on my world has diminished, she said. Economic projections now favor alliance. Political resistance declines when profit increases. Ah, I said, capitalism, the universal language. You jest, she replied, but shared prosperity stabilized the council vote. And Earth, you stabilized Earth. I blinked, I made jokes. You reframed escalation, you humanized intent, you persuaded leaders to risk integration. That sounds far more impressive than it felt. Leadership rarely feels impressive, she said. Silence settled between us, not strained, not tactical. You will return home soon, I said. Yes. And the station will operate jointly. Yes. And fleets will train together. Yes, I exhaled slowly, and us. Her ears shifted forward, fully attentive. You assume there is an us beyond mission parameters. I stopped assuming anything weeks ago. She studied me carefully. When I arrived, she said, I intended to execute a strategy, precision, detachment, efficiency. You were very good at it. I still am, never doubted. She stepped closer, her gaze steady. But I did not anticipate adaptation. Adaptation. I learned that vulnerability does not equate to weakness. That shared risk creates stability beyond calculation. You're quoting me, I said. I am integrating data. I smiled faintly and emotionally. I asked quietly. Her ears trembled slightly before settling. That variable proved more complex, she admitted. Tell me about it. She hesitated. On my world, she said, leaders are conditioned to avoid attachment that may compromise judgment. And did it? She met my gaze. No, the word carried more weight than the treaty had. Attachment clarified priorities, she continued. It revealed what peace truly protects. I swallowed. And what does it protect? She held my eyes. Possibility. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Below, Earth rotated steadily. Beyond, her fleet maintained non-threatening orbit alongside ours. You could request reassignment, I said. Stay on Earth longer. I could, she acknowledged, and my continued presence here would strengthen alliance. That sounds dangerously like justification. It is. And the truth? Her ears tilted forward again, unguarded. I wish to remain. My chest tightened in a way no political crisis had managed. That complicates protocol, I said. Yes, your council, they will object. Mine too. She paused. But both councils now value stability, she said. And I am invested. I laughed softly. That might be the most romantic phrasing in interstellar